All right, welcome everyone. This is the HashCast, the Hedera-based podcast that we're trying out. You know, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I am your host, Jake, also known as Warlock in Key, and I'm joined by May as well as DPAK. If you'd like to say a little bit about yourself, please feel free.
Hi, I'm May. I am the CEO of HashPack, and I'm just here to have a good time and share some insights, perhaps.
I'm DPAK Watanabe. Also, you might recognize me as DPAK, resident ship hoster. Yeah.
Good. Cool. All right, so let's do a little warm-up exercise. Now imagine you're back in elementary school. Okay. And your mom has, you're about to start a new school year. Your mom has just brought home these boys. I want you to tell me which of these colors is math.
Red.
Red. I was going to say red as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red is clearly the math color.
Okay. I was also thinking red, so that means we're all high IQ here. Obviously, we have the right way of thinking. Why was it immediately red for you? I could tell you, for me, I hated math. I hated it so much. So just the angry color is what I ascribe to math. Just angry hate color is math.
I think red was my favorite color back then. So I think that was that's where I'm going. I enjoyed math.
Your favorite? You enjoy?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I guess different types of people.
Red was just like an important color, like to me, like math was like important, or it was just like something I actually focused on because I got a lot of reinforcement from my parents, and math is really important. So I guess I just chose red. I think I like red as well. So I don't think I necessarily liked math in grade school, but I definitely do now.
I hate math. It's funny that we all picked red. All right, what about literature?
Green.
Green, okay.
I think purple.
Okay, so we all have different ones. I would have picked blue just because blue's my favorite color, and literature is my favorite subject. So I guess I'm very emotion-based, personally. Like, keep me away from the red, bring me to the blue. Okay.
I chose purple because, like, literature definitely isn't green. It isn't blue. Blue for me would probably be like social studies or something like that. Black is just like, that would just be like, I don't know.
That's just the writing one. That's the doodle writing, whatever, right?
Yeah, maybe for you, man. I didn't do too much doodling myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't ascribe black to a subject. That would just be backup.
I think black would be like an elective, like theater or something. Like
Did you take theater as an elective?
Yeah.
We both are. We're theater people.
Yeah.
You're theater people.
Or in high school, we were. I hope. I mean, I kind of distanced myself from that shit after high school.
Yeah, I don't do anything like that. Any kind of performance type stuff now. That's not me. I don't do that. That's stupid. That's dumb. Cool. Well, let's get into it then. Our first actually related to what we're talking about topic is our first news item. Neuron leverages the Hedera network for drone radar systems in UK in a government-sponsored trial. Are you both familiar with this?
Nope.
Cool.
No.
So apparently this happened. January 6th. Didn't just pull the article up. Now, DPAK, you are familiar with this?
Yeah, I skimmed through the article a couple days when it came out, like I think 3 days ago.
Can you give us just a general summary of what's going on here?
Oh, it was just like a trial run of using drones that leave the line of sight, sponsored by the UK government. Apparently, like I had no idea, but due to, like regulation, um, drones are not allowed to leave your line of sight, and so I guess it was a big deal in the sense of they were successfully able to do it for like sending medical supplies. I remember in one video a long time ago with a neuron that Hedera did, they um they did a trial where like they were sending drones to like ships for like so if like ships were out at sea and they ran out of supplies, like some drone could come in and give them supplies. And so I guess this is just an extension of that, of just doing it, but like whenever like the drone just or multiple drones, I don't know which one it is in this case. I think it's just one drone, just left line of sight, and it was successful.
They could kind of extend the radar capability by integrating it and logging events and stuff in the Hedera network.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too because you kind of it makes me wonder like what is going to be the extension of this. Like obviously when this is going to interact with not only just like drones, or I think it probably won't just interact with drones, but just any just anything in airspace, right? Um, Also makes me think of like if every single, I don't know how like aviation works at all. I know like different places have different countries and territories have different airspaces, but I kind of wonder like if like North Korea, right, like would they use this at all, like would they like they have an airline, right, they have an airline. So would they participate in this in a world where there'd be like a ledger for just flight stuff in general and in airspace? Would they want to connect? And I don't know. It's pretty fascinating stuff. It also extends to like maybe autonomous cars one days, right? You have multiple parties that don't necessarily that they have multiple parties that have competing interests, right? So you have different like car manufacturers, and if one crashes into the other, like you need like a event log of what happened. So I don't
Right.
know, just really exciting stuff. Seems like really necessary technology for the future as well.
I guess the big point here, and the reason why Hedera is necessary, is because you can you can securely send the information over the internet and know that it hasn't been tampered with and know exactly when that information was sent. And without a ledger technology, you wouldn't be able to do that. So you wouldn't be able to trust the records of the car or the drone when they send it out. And so that seems like a very practical use of the technology, and also Hedera specifically being a very high performance ledger, it makes it perfect for this use case.
Let me read what the CCO of Neuron said about this. Until now, drones have had limited benefit for governments and private enterprises because they could not be flown safely out of line of sight and therefore could not be used for long-distance deliveries, transport, or inspections. With this trial leveraging Hedera Consensus Service, we have made unmanned long-distance drone travel possible using safety-critical aviation infrastructure, that's a lot of words. Each flight creates millions of data points, which no other public ledger has been fast enough to log and correctly order. By leveraging the Hedera Consensus Service, we can gather, store, and order this data immediately, giving us a real-time radar system for drones. And yeah, a lot of the stuff that Hedera is being used for, it seems, is location-based, tracking-based, shipping drone stuff, autonomous vehicles. Can you guys give me some examples of things that Hedera is being used for that is not related to kind of location tracking and direction tracking stuff? Just off the top of your head.
Like there's a lot of interesting use cases out there that are in the works, but I can't think of major use cases that aren't about tracking at the moment. I think that tracking is sort of the the easiest way to utilize a ledger. And so you have companies like everywhere out there that are tracking vaccines, like the COVID vaccines, and logistics companies that are putting ledger technologies, not just Hedera, but there are other ledger technologies that they use, like Corda and Hyperledger, and they try to put those into the supply chain. And that's sort of the simplest use, where you're basically have a big spreadsheet, which is basically what a ledger is, and you're just keeping track of all the information.
Yeah, I was about to say that, I think traceability is like probably like one of the really, really, really big properties of ledgers or distributed ledger technologies. That's like, you know, it's one of the big value providers, right? It's just being able to track where something has been on like such an incredibly granular level. Um, so anything, and this isn't going to be true for all DLT, right? There are some that are specifically, built to be private, so you can't trace where something has been. But anything, something like Hedera, like anything that's going to be used and that is visible to all parties that can see what's on the ledger, you'll be able to trace things. Which, think about a world where like you go to a grocery store and there's a QR code on like your salmon, right? And from there, exactly like where it's been. Like there's just no way in which like it could have been tampered with, where the location can be spoofed or if it's farmed or whatever. And then to extend that, imagine like a world where like the food that you get at a restaurant, like the plate you get has a QR code where exactly what's in it. Like I don't know if it'll go to that extent, but like that's kind of this technology kind of enables that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with brands and stuff labeling their stuff as organic, like a lot of people aren't sure and kind of just have to trust the current systems in place and the brand itself, like being able to not have to worry about trusting anyone, but just having that information and seeing like, oh, where were these fish caught? Where were these cows being held? Like that stuff would be really interesting for just like consumer grade stuff.
And I think, okay, I think that, bringing the idea of tracking your food to your restaurant meal, where you scan the QR code when you're sitting at a restaurant, is interesting. I think that it's even more interesting if you look at it from the perspective of companies that are trying to be compliant with laws and trying to be sourcing responsibility. When you think about companies that are trying to source their ingredients responsibly and be responsible members of the industry, this kind of technology really helps them a lot, because now they can prove it. And if this becomes a sort of thing where governments are subsidizing this kind of activity, they can now use that and gain benefits from that as well. So there's just all of these different spots in the whole logistics chain where people can benefit from this sort of information flow.
I mean, I'm surprised with how rough supply chain management has been during the pandemic that people aren't leaning on this more, and that we haven't seen like a bigger boom of adoption and new stuff coming out, because it just seems like this is something that would be really, really useful right now.
Well, the problem with supply chain management is that, and I kind of looked into this a bit. I'm not really that knowledgeable about it per se, but I've looked into a little bit. And the problem with supply chain management is that even if you have a ledger that you use and you have a software that uses that ledger, how do you ensure that, your suppliers all use that and the companies that they purchase from are using that and all that? And it goes down the entire chain, where unless you're some monolithic company like Amazon or some other like grocery supply
like
chain, Walmart or something like that, and even then, how much pull do you have over some company in China or in Africa where they are, getting their ingredients from a farm or from a factory? That just adds to the complexity of it all. So just because you're using a ledger doesn't mean that the problem is solved. It just means that part of that piece in your logistics chain is using that ledger. And if everything else doesn't plug into it, it's kind of useless. You can say that, well, we know exactly where all of our logs are supplied from, but your supply company that is shipping the logs out, the wooden logs, they could track it. But if they have subcontractors that are going out to the forests and cutting down trees, but they don't use that software, then you've got a break in it. And then suddenly all this tracking is worthless because these guys could be logging from some illegal place and you don't know it. So it's a very complex and difficult problem to solve.
Right. Yeah, I guess there needs to be a lot more standards created and maybe laws created to like get people to, I don't know, be forced to opt into some kind of digital logging like of the events. Cause
it's a difficult problem. And a lot of it, I think it's shown in the state of so many different parts of this world, where you look at it's present in supply chain, it's present in digital identity, where you have governments that are issuing passports or issuing, let's say federal passports, right? And they have that. But then you have a local local ID that is accepted some places and not accepted other places, and it's all very complicated because everyone has their own way of doing things, and nothing is interconnected, but everyone's trying to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. I mean, like we're so early in this whole thing that I'm sure, like we're going to be hearing like the evolution of what the problem space looks like in supply chain. But yeah, all really good points.
Okay, so that was a pretty meaty technical first news item. Our first discussion topic is a general thing. So we were talking about use cases and what Hedera is doing really well at right now. And I think what it's not doing super well at right now is with the NFT community on Hedera, with NFTs on Hedera. Full disclosure, I make NFTs. Sorry. What'd you want to say?
What NFTs do you make?
Oh, thank you for the totally organic plug. I make Creets, little creature NFTs. You can find my Twitter account. It's Creets_NFT. Check me out if you want. I did not create this segment just to shill, but I think so much has been going on in such a short time with the Hedera NFT network community, whatever you want to call it. And let's just, what are some general takes from both of you? Let's start with May.
I think there's so much. Absolutely nuts how much it's exploded and how much activity there is. And it's not just that there's so many creators, but there's so many people out there that are just like getting into NFTs, learning about NFTs for the first time, and really having fun with the ecosystem. And I think that this is a very good sign for where NFTs could go. And it's crazy because there's hardly any infrastructure up that supports it, but the creators are out there just kind of doing sales directly on Discord and sending things, and making things work. And, for how early we are, it's crazy how much activity we have.
Yeah, that there's just I remember when I started making NFTs. I mean, I didn't know really anything about NFTs. I just thought, hey, I like drawing some, crazy weird stuff, and if people are interested, then I'll check it out. And when I first started, maybe over a month ago, people were just coming in and like directly messaging me on Twitter saying like, oh, let me check them out. Let me check them out. Like, there's just like this hungry base that existed. And then recently, so the main wallet that people were using for NFTs was called Exact, and then Exact went down. And since most people were using that, it kind of like put the entire community on a standstill. And people are now like, a bunch of different people are trying to scramble to find out new stuff. And HashPack just added NFT functionality for sending, because I don't think you currently can even now send via Exact. And other people like the Turtle Moon project by the Hashgraph Punks devs, they're trying to figure out minting and things. And there's Hash Access, which is figuring out how to do their own kind of minting stuff. So yeah, people have been picking up the pieces. I think right now it's just like so much like with the shutdown and then people coming back, it's like it's really positive, but it's also an opportunity for a lot of criticism to fly around, and people get freaked out easily, and sensationalism. It's been crazy to watch and to be a part of it. Do you think that Hedera could be doing more?
My impression is like the HBAR Foundation probably like, and that's a whole what's going on with them, is a whole nother topic. But
what is going on with them?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea, which doesn't feel like a good sign. But I'm sure, I have enough faith that, well, one, like I feel like Hedera, the network is fundamentally so strong that theoretically, right, like it might take a while, but like, more community adoption will happen because of the fundamentals. But HFR Foundation, like, I don't know, man, like what really like, and this relates to NFTs, was the recent AR Rahman NFT platform announcement, which wow, like what a like bro, I'm Indian and I'm like just amazed, because like it is like a moment of like, what are these people doing? Like, not to say that like I don't mean to make too much criticism, but I am just really curious as to like where this came from, like what the reasoning is this like a priority,
So for our listeners, can you give us a little more context on this announcement that you're talking about?
Yeah. So a couple of weeks back, I'll include like a little bit of the gossip as well, and some community gossip. A couple of weeks ago, Shane Higdon, the CEO of the HBAR Foundation, mentioned on I forgot what, I think it was like a podcast or something, or like a video in a video interview on YouTube. He mentioned, where he talked about how like, oh, there's a big name coming up. I know you guys want like a big name, but next week you're going to see a big name. And so like, he pre-announced an announcement, which caused a lot of people to get really excited, because this really is like, the amount of like the amount of stuff and a lot of like pent up anticipation there is, I feel like caused a lot of froth. And so the big, after delay, it was released that AR Rahman's going to be, I think that specifically he's going to be building or be mentored by the HBAR Foundation to build an NFT platform for independent artists in India.
And who is AR Rahman? Can you give a summary?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, he's an Indian composer that he's been involved with a lot of composition in Indian films. You might know him from the from Slumdog Millionaire for specifically the J Ho song. And so, what I find really dishonest here's the one criticism I do have for Shane, because I think, like, the announcing an announcement, like, he knows, like, that's very obvious. That wasn't, like, maybe the smartest thing to do. But it's somewhat of the, it's there's, like, obviously a disconnect going on here between the Foundation and the community itself. I don't know in what world, like, this guy thought that A.R. Rahman would be so anticipated or wanted by the community. That's primarily, like, it looks like they're Americans or in the first world, or sorry, in the West.
Right.
It's also like, he tried to cover it up, or it seemed like he was trying to cover it up by saying, oh, India is such a developing market, blah, blah, blah. He also mentioned that A.R. Rahman's a household name in India. I don't think that's the case at all. So it definitely seems like he was trying to cover it up, or trying to try to match or gain, match the expectations that the HR community had.
He hyped it up, and then when the community wasn't hype, he tried to justify it. And I think that it's a little bit unfortunate of a take, where it sounds like he's unconfident in what they've done. And we shouldn't downplay the achievement, right? Right. Having an Academy Award winning composer who is a big name in the music industry, maybe not so much in popular culture, but people do know the songs that he's made, even if they don't know that he wrote them. So we shouldn't downplay the achievement of getting such a name onto the HBAR Foundation, building on the HBAR Foundation, and maybe helping to spread the word of Hedera and what Hedera has to offer. That's definitely an achievement. But there is a disconnect between what the community is expecting from the HBAR Foundation and what they're trying to hype up.
Right. Absolutely. So, I am hosting this podcast, but I'm not as knowledgeable about everything as honestly most people in this community. But to me, something that's always been interesting is, how this community compares to other communities. A question I want to pose is a lot of how Hedera has been handling their marketing, their social media engagement, how the HBAR Foundation has been handling things. It seems like they're trying to capture similar hype-motivated things that other communities will do and that turn out very well for them, but they don't seem to understand how exactly other communities are doing it. And what would you like to say?
It's sort of like a hello, fellow kids moment.
Yes.
Where there's some adults in the room trying to play the same game that the teenagers are. And I think that this actually very adequately represents the dynamic right now in Hedera versus other blockchains, which is Hedera has always been enterprise focused, and they've always been regulations focused and very mature in their approach, that they want to make sure that they have all the bases covered. They want to make sure that they don't overpromise. And they take a very measured approach in their marketing and everything. And that is very typical and very reasonable for enterprises to do. On the flip side, you have crypto, which is a clown fiesta. Mm-hmm. And people are out there shilling the most ridiculous things and making ridiculous claims, and the community gets hype for it, and then they fail to deliver, and then the community just sort of moves on and hypes up the next big thing, and nobody's accountable. And so Hedera, it feels like they're stuck in a place where they're trying to be hype, but they are limited because they have to be the responsible adult in the room. And it just ends up with an awkward message overall.
Right. Did you have something you want to say, DPAK?
I mean, no, I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. Like, they're just a bunch of boomer suits, like, and that's perfectly fine. Just be boomer suits. Like, if Shane was going, let's fucking go on Twitter, doing all the crypto Twitter shit, I'd be like, I would sell, like, so yeah, 100%, I agree.
Yeah, that's something that is just striking to me, because while I'm not the most knowledgeable about all these specifics, I do know what the community is like, and the community, the Hedera community, we like their business model. We that is what gives us confidence in them, and they, with their marketing, with a lot of this grant stuff, they don't seem to be taking into account their community, their audience. And yeah, it turns into like a, hello school kids, I'm here to tell you about, have you heard of TikTok? It's weird, it's distance, and they can't get away with like random hype trains, because their community will be like, hey, but we read a bunch of stuff and this doesn't line up. Their audience is not the people just buying into Shiba and wanting number to go up.
Absolutely. And so they're stuck in a really hard place where they are delivering on their enterprise sort of fundamentals. And then the community is both telling them to continue that, but also give us something hype, give us some news, give us something to be excited about. And when they try that and it doesn't work because they can't, it ends up being awkward for everybody. And I think that Hedera, in terms of its business strategy and its fundamentals, all of that has been great. The problem is that the marketing has really struck a bad chord with the community. And I think that Hedera is trying different things, and HBAR Foundation is trying different things. And some of them have flopped pretty hard. And I think you just pick it up and keep going and working at this. And maybe eventually Hedera finds its stride. And we're just kind of seeing some awkward learning moments here for everybody.
What I worry about is, because I'm sort of familiar with just marketing stuff in general. What I'm worried about is the reason we're getting this is because whatever marketing team is making these decisions, let's just make it general so we don't single anyone out. Whatever marketing team is making decisions for, okay, this is what we're going to try to push, or this is what we're going to try to copy to, make us seem relevant, or I believe they're focusing on, we have to reach a new audience. What audience do we already have? We have the audience of people who are interested in our business model, who have bought in. We don't need to care about them. That is something a lot of companies do, right? Where they don't focus on the audience that they have already with their marketing. A good example is, and this can go the other way, where you focus too much on your audience, you're not getting new people. So like Nintendo, for example, they have had a really big problem historically with, not with the Switch, but with the Wii U marketing, where they weren't targeting their audience at all. They were just targeting like 10-year-olds. And at that time, 10-year-olds were not interested in that. They didn't care, and they just kept doing it, and it didn't work out. With the Switch, they started targeting younger people, people exiting high school, entering college, that kind of general demographic with their advertising, and it paid off in spades, because a lot of kids aren't buying consoles. They have to use phones or stuff like that that their parents can just like hand them if they're really young. Like the days of the, your dad getting you an NES, SNES, whatever, are over. But they didn't want to change until the Wii U flopped. I'm worried that this miscommunication between their audience and just seeking a new market, I don't feel like they're learning from their mistakes. I feel like they just keep trying the same type of stuff and seeing what works for others. But, why I'm in the Hedera community as opposed to any other random community is because it is so different from just other random crypto stuff. I hope that going forward, they don't just try to copy how someone like maybe Charles would handle it with with Ada. I hope that, or Cardano, I hope that they kind of, I mean, copy someone like Apple, all right? You know, older people, younger people both love it, and they do professional stuff, but keep it simple. I think they need to focus on that rather than trying to jump on random hype train stuff. You know, I'm waiting for them to like start a Twitch channel, you know, like that wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's sort of like streaming gaming on with Hedera devs or something like that wouldn't work at all.
No.
I want that,
like,
honestly.
Like I could see that happening, right? I could see that happening, and no, I don't want that. Like what makes, you know, Hedera special is, you know, the information, the backing, how seriously they take these things. And yeah, it's not going to easily transfer to random crypto hype stuff, but it shouldn't. I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye out and an open mind, but with how do they handle a lot of stuff? I mean, one big thing is like the Hello Future stuff that's going on is there's a lot of really good information, but it's like it's locked in Twitter Spaces.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know anyone who regularly uses that in my life. I know people who use it because I'm part of the Hedera NFT community, but it's really hard to access that. There's multiple barriers. You have to like have Twitter on your phone if you want to like participate. Like, don't do that there. Do a YouTube live or something. Maybe don't get a Twitch channel, but like do a YouTube live or something. Like do something else. Like, I just feel like they can really step up marketing, not in messaging. I think their basic messaging is great, but in getting people just to watch it. And by saying their basic messaging is great, I don't mean the Hello Kids stuff. I don't mean hello young people. I think what marketing you already have, just condense it, make it simple, and present it in a way that is professional, and people will do the hyping for you. You don't. Yeah, people will do the hyping for you because once again, if you're targeting your audience, that is people who look into stuff. Like I've been on a bunch of like dumb crypto discords, but Club HBAR is the only one I've been on where like people are actively, regularly looking into details instead of just being like, hey, no, don't worry, my number will go up. Don't FUD. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. That's what sets our community apart. Is like we're open to criticism. Sometimes we go too far. But we want things to get better and we want to have an open and honest discussion about it. So I feel like I just ended up monopolizing that, but it's just something I think about a lot is how they handle their marketing and their outreach.
And to give credit, big shout out to whoever is responsible for organizing the town halls. I think it's just Zenobia and Christian, to an extent, Christian Hasker, but those are just solid. Like I always look forward to those. I'm really sad that they're only happening once a quarter now, but those are like a great example of the transparency and that the transparency behind certain parts. They're willing to answer like questions that I'm like, wow, like not a lot of people would go on a video and answer this, right? Some of the questions I'm like, man, like this is kind of dumb. Like I don't care about Jordan Freed and his involvement. He's not here anymore, but big shout out to them for that stuff.
Yeah, I think we all love that kind of stuff. And if they could just, keep that kind of general style and make it more compact and easily accessible for people, I think that would work really well. Don't chase the hype train, please. It's not gonna pay off for you. We're different. It's not gonna pay off for you. Cool. So, we started this with a general stuff on NFTs. Maybe the next thing I'll get a lot of more specific stuff because there is a lot of weird things happening with the NFT community with Hedera, but it's a little too much to get into. there was a recent partnership announced with the HBAR Foundation and Metaverse, which, do you guys think that matters?
No. Maybe it does, but like this also makes me looking into what Meta VR Earth or Metaverse is. I really don't understand what's going on. Part of me just thinks it's like, hopping onto the hype train of the metaverse. But to me, it's like, man, like Hedera is like, they were ahead of their time. They were expressing this idea in a much more general way in 2017, right?
Right.
Share worlds, whatever, and that's been highlighted a lot. I don't know what to make of the metaverse. A lot of people, like, obviously the big, it's from Meta, or Facebook rename, that has caused a lot of hype and speculation as to what it is. A lot of people are attaching it to just VR in general. I don't see how this matters. There are plenty of VR chat rooms that you can use, that people already do use.
The whole
Yeah.
idea of the metaverse is so intangible right now, and it's so new, and people are using it as a sort of a way to say this is the future, and they get excited about it. And I think that it's great to be excited about something. I don't think that it's great to push your project. This is like getting way too judgmental, but
I like judgmental.
The problem is that when you sell a dream to somebody and there's no clear way for you to deliver that dream. So when you say that you have a metaverse where people are going to be having real goods, you buy your sneakers in real life, and you also get sneakers in the metaverse. You have the merging of reality with digital, and you're building this universe, in the internet for people to participate in this. And you're saying that this is going to be the future of everything. The biggest question I have is, why is your future going to be the future, right? Why is your metaverse going to be the metaverse? And when I buy a sneakers, why is the sneakers that I buy, why is the digital one going to exist on yours? If it exists on yours, why will that be important to me if yours isn't the biggest one, right? If yours isn't the one that I use. And I think that people are thinking that, when you buy a sneaker and you get a digital representation of it, that digital representation is going to be usable everywhere in every metaverse. And that is unfeasible. And so I think that this space has a lot of room to grow and a lot of things to be interested in. I see a lot of augmented reality things and things where you have like a box where somebody is standing. It looks like they're standing in the same room as you, but it's just being projected, but it looks very 3D. And I think that is a very cool metaverse sort of concept. But the whole NFT part of it, where you're buying things for the metaverse, you're spending your money on these tokenized products. I think that it's just too early. And if you're going to be selling this, you have to really convince your customers why this is going to be a good use of their money, right? It's a bit dishonest to hype it up and not address this specific issue. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, this whole metaverse push, and it's not just Hedera, it's everywhere right now, and it really reminds me of all the dumb documentaries that have been made about Second Life. And have you guys seen one of those?
No, but I'm vaguely familiar with Second Life.
So Second Life is just, it's a chat room where you have a dumb little avatar you can pick, and you just walk around to different servers. I don't even know if it has VR capability, because there's like VR chat, but it came out a while ago. It was just on computers, and there's so many dumb documentaries that have been made about this as if it's like this big social thing. It's like there's a few freaks that are super into it and make their whole life about it. But the documentary is structured as if like every person on Second Life, this is their other life. They can buy things. Well, yeah, some weirdos will buy virtual real estate in Second Life. Most people in there right now, if there are even people there, just jump in, troll, run around, and then leave. Like, but this metaverse stuff is being portrayed as like, oh yeah, all these things are going to be the main stuff.
Yeah.
The commerce is going to be the main thing.
Yeah. And I think that comparing it to Second Life is apt in that what they're trying to portray is that it's some new concept where people are going to be spending their real money and getting real value out of something that's digital. And it's kind of funny because if you're a gamer, you already know that these sort of things exist. These sort of communities, these sort of metaverses already exist. There's Minecraft worlds out there. There's GTA worlds out there, like servers. There's,
VR
World
chat.
of Warcraft. There's Final Fantasy 14. And all of these places have real people that are spending their lives there. You can say, they're socializing there. They're making real connections with people. They're making friendships. They're doing things in these worlds, whether it's, raiding the new bosses or crafting gear for their friends or things like that. Those are the metaverses that I think are interesting. And you don't need to buy an NFT in those worlds in order to feel like you're a part of it. And I think that if you're going to make a metaverse where you're selling real NFTs, which I think is going to be the future one way or another, that you have to make the platform that people want to be on. And you have to make it a place where people want to socialize and interact and make friendships. And if you can make a metaverse where that happens, that's really a product that will bring value to the people, right? And that will be way more than a sneaker company that is putting their 3D versions of their sneakers onto some sort of digital VR gallery.
Model viewer, yeah.
And so I think that if we're really excited about metaverse, we need to be excited about the things that are going to bring value to people. And that's not NFTs, even though NFTs are exciting for DLTs and ledgers and blockchain, because that's something you can directly participate in. Metaverses as a concept is about connecting people, right? So that's where the focus needs to be.
Yeah. No, it's so strange how people are. I mean, I understand why businesses are super excited, because it's like, oh, another excuse to package my product in a different way and access people that I wasn't thinking about accessing. But yeah, I mean, MMOs exist. VR chat exists, where you put on a VR headset, you go into a chat room and you walk around and you talk to people. Like, that exists already, and they have hand tracking, all this stuff that I don't understand. I understand what Facebook wants to do as a company. They want to basically take the idea of metaverse and just make something where they're just like, yeah, that's us. They want to just be like, so they can answer your question of like, oh, well, who's the main metaverse? Who's the WoW, right, of metaverse? They want to be the WoW of metaverse and everything else to just fall by the wayside. I don't think they can do it.
There's going to need to be something fancy, something new that will draw in people, right? Yeah.
People aren't talking about like, this is essentially a race to make a chat room VR video game. And they're talking about it like it's cyberpunk. Yeah. And there's just this huge disconnect. and that's why it reminds me of these dumb Second Life documentaries, because they talk about it like it's like, in their world, they have ultimate control. They hype it up, but really it's just some old lady in Alabama getting on her computer and, RPing with some other old lady from Georgia. Well, but in this world, she looks like Marge Simpson. Like, I don't care. What is actually happening? You're logging into a chat room that is visual. And what I'm saying is like, okay, how is this anything else? Like, we can't even get people to adopt and buy VR headsets right now.
Yep.
We can't even get people to do that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to make one platform amongst millions. I guess my main thing is like, it seems like a thing that is being pushed by businesses. But even they don't understand what it means. And then the community really doesn't understand what it means. So they just go to like what they've seen, films, TV, whatever, and just fill in the gaps. And I think that's not going to be good. It's a similar hype train thing that we criticize and have criticized in this podcast, where it's like, you need to think about the end result or you're going to get in trouble.
One thing, bringing it back to like specifically the announcement and the metaverse, the specific company.
Meta VRSE, Metaverse, that's partnering with Hedera. Thank you for tying this back.
One thing that like really like is, and it makes me wonder if the HBAR Foundation does do their due diligence, and also like I'm an armchair expert here, but I'm kind of like you see like who's working on who's working at the company. It's marketed as like a low code platform, and there's like just a handful of engineers. First of all, low code, like I always kind of, my red flag goes up a little bit when you hear the word low code, because
what does that mean?
It means like you don't have to interact with code to build something.
Okay.
So it's like drag and drop, right?
Right. So kind of like what they're doing with Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're doing there, but
yes.
An example for me would be like Wix, or where you can just drag and drop and build a website, which is great, right? But you're marketed as like a low code. You don't have that many engineers, it seems like, and it looks like you have a lot of strategic development and business roles in marketing. So what's going on, HBAR Foundation? Like
calling them out.
Man. Like, I don't know if you guys looked into this yourself, and I obviously, like, I hope they were, I'm wrong here, but just little question mark in my head.
I'll say it's been underwhelming. The stuff I've looked at, underwhelming. It looks just kind of like a basic model viewer for showcasing models. I don't know if it even works with anything, but from the pictures I've seen, it's just kind of like a model viewer. And I don't really even know how much it relates to Hedera. So once again, I'm worried that it's like just marketing speak. And there's lots of Hedera NFT stuff that has been focusing on this kind of metaverse not partnership, this kind of metaverse marketing. Access is one of them, and they've been fairly successful as far as like getting customers. But we don't know what the future looks like, so it's complicated to be promising someone something that no one has actually figured out. And maybe
that's okay if we know that that's what they're going for. Because a foundation grant you would expect is something that is sort of an IOU, a promise that the company is going to take those grants and build something that will benefit the ecosystem. And I think that we're all expecting that if somebody is being brought in by the foundation and given funding, then that funding is going to be used to build something good on the network. Mm-hmm. And if we can look at these partnerships and say, okay, I see what they're building and I see how this is going to benefit the network, then that's great. I think that that answers a lot of questions. But when I see this HBAR and Foundation and Metaverse partnership, I wonder how that's going to work. And it's the same with a lot of these NFT marketplaces where's the value coming from? Because um, you can use the ledger in many different ways, but selling NFTs is sort of one of the low hanging fruits. And if you're spending a lot of time, a lot of money on these projects to, get the NFT space going, which I'm assuming this is what HBAR Foundation is doing, then maybe you need to communicate that so that the community knows, hey, we think that NFT tokenized assets are going to be huge. And therefore, we are investing in this company, and this company, because these are going to really bring NFTs to Hedera, and have that as the narrative instead of listing a company and saying, this is what they're doing, this is what they want to do. And then here's another company, this is what they're doing, this is what they want to do. And then the community is left wondering, what is HBAR Foundation trying to do here? Why are you investing in all of these different NFT companies? What value are they bringing? If you have a general strategy that you're doing, bringing all these in, and you communicate that, and the community knows this is your strategy, it makes it a lot easier to place each of these individual grants and say, yeah, this is something that's happening.
Right.
Alternatively, there is no strategy. And these are just random grants and nothing's going to come out of it. And that is everybody's fear, is that they're just random money being thrown into the wind and being burned up and nothing's going to come of it. Right. That's really, and you hope that it's not the case. But I think that communicating well with the community will alleviate a lot of the fears around that.
Yeah. Even if it's random, even if, the worst thing is that it's random, even then, I think what a great opportunity for the people in charge of the marketing for the HBAR Foundation to connect those data points for us. Like, give us a narrative, give us something connecting them. It's strange that they're doing it like this. It's strange that they don't have a roadmap for this kind of thing, a mission statement, because they're giving money to things related to NFTs, but at the same time they are not they're not focusing on what is kind of needed right now, which is a secondary marketplace for NFTs. That's kind of the most pressing thing right now, and we're not seeing a huge amount of interest. Or you can't just announce random partnerships, I guess is what we're trying to communicate here. You can't just announce random partnerships. You need to give us something. And this connects to a lot of the marketing stuff we're talking about. We need even if you don't have a strategy, tell us you have a strategy. Like, I feel like that's basic marketing business stuff, because it's like, they're like, oh, people don't care about the nuts and bolts stuff. It's like, first of all, we do. We just want it to be condensed in a way that's easily readable and shareable. And right now it's just like partnership. You read about it if you want to. It's like, we don't need a lot of details. Just say like, oh, we are signing with these 3 people because of our mission to, blank, do what with NFTs, do what with the community. But we're not getting that. Obviously they're interested in NFTs, but right now it's scattershot. It's like, they're just like hoping they hit something. And it's a weird place. They're in a weird place right now. They can improve, and they're not dopes. They some things they do really, really well, and it just seems to me this is like something that could so easily be done better. But I'm not excited about this partnership because it doesn't really give me much information.
I'm really excited for their future Kazakhstan CBDC partnership.
And that's more Kazakhstan?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, sorry, I'm making a joke because
I thought so.
shady projects, or like Phantom, for example. You know, they're Tajikistan, debunked Tajikistan CBDC thing. I would
The funny thing is, I thought that it might be a joke, but at the same time, Hedera does have partnerships with Korean banks and with African banks, and they are actually doing things. So I thought maybe I hadn't heard something. But that's more of a Hedera thing, right? That's not the foundation doing these kinds of partnerships, right?
Oh, really? I had no idea. I mean,
yeah.
Bro, just tell us what you're doing at HBAR Foundation, because I like, you know, now I have no idea what you guys do.
All right. Well, that was a lot of cool stuff that we talked about. We're all geniuses, high IQ, big brain fellows. I had a good time. This is your host, Jake, also known as Warlock and Key, you know, resident NFT shiller. DPAK
signing out.
And May, have a good one.
We did it. I got to think of something smart to say for the last thing. We did it. It's not cutting it. Thank you for listening to the HashCast. If you want to support us on Patreon and give us your dollars, you can do that via this link that is going to be available somewhere you can see. Thank you for listening. We'll work on it.
That's the tagline. We'll work on it.
We'll work on it.
We're working on it.